Welcome to Block Brief's update on some of the more significant rezonings around the country in the last month. This video will highlight some of the key rezonings and also hopefully help you to learn to navigate how to use the Block Brief mapping system. So many of you will be familiar with the fact that you can access the most recent zoning changes around the country from the Zoning Changes tab on the Block Brief website, as I'm demonstrating here. However, more recently, we've now added it onto the traditional zoning mapping system. And you can simply just select the zoning alerts layer to see proposed and adopted zoning changes. And it illustrates that green are the ones that are not adopted yet. Green are the ones that are adopted, and red are the ones that are not adopted yet. So we're going to go through some of the more significant ones and give you 5 key things about those rezonings that you may wish to know about. The first one is in the New South Wales in the LGA and suburb of Kogarah. So I've searched Kogarah and I'm just going to select the zoning alerts layer. And it's going to zoom out, and what I can see here is if I click, that's the LGA. So this covers the LGA of Kogarah, and I'm going to click on that, and it's going to go through all the information. So some of the important things about this rezoning is that it's an LGA-wide amendment and rezoning to the Kogarah LGA. The rezoning seeks to implement the Kogarah 2031 housing strategy and the Kogarah employment lands and economic development strategy, and also the open space review. The amendment identifies lands for housing and employment and open space to meet the projected needs of the city of Kogarah over the next 20 years, particularly responding to the key demographic characteristics of the city, like its aging population and decreasing household size. As you can see, the proponent here is the council, so it's a council-led rezoning, and as a result, there's no developer involved, and the rezoning has created a lot of opportunities for investors to jump on and opportunities for redevelopment in the LGA of Kogarah. So the bottom line here is that it is anticipated over the next 20 years this rezoning will provide capacity for over 5,000 dwellings and over 2,000 jobs. So over 7,000 dwellings, between 7,000 and 5,000 dwellings. And this will have probably the most significant impact on supply in the housing market of over the next 20 years. This is going to have the most impact on both the commercial residential market and the commercial real estate market and the residential real estate market, as it's also going to be where you're going to have job generation, employment, land creation, so space available for commercial land uses, and obviously increases in residential density in the form of apartments and other development. So let's move on now to another significant rezoning that's recently been created or adopted or announced, and that is in the suburb of Homebush. So I'm going to search that. And zoom in a little bit. So there's been quite a bit of activity going on in this area. This is the particular rezoning we're looking at. So this is the Columbia Lane Homebush mixed-use rezoning. So this rezoning is, as you can see, there's a specific address involved. It's a specific site. So this is a what we like to call a spot rezoning. And some of the 5 interesting things going on here with this rezoning. The rezoning is in the draft stages, as you can see. So it says no here next to adopted, and it's identified as red. So we're still waiting adoption of this rezoning. The proposal seeks to rezone the site for from R4 high density residential to B4 mixed use, and also increase the maximum height of buildings from 32 meters to 80 meters, and increase the maximum FSR to 5:1. So basically, we're changing the zoning so it's not a strict residential rezoning. So it will still allow apartments, but they'll have some more flexibility with the land uses, perhaps activate the street frontage there. But they're also going to have a dramatic increase in the density here of this particular site. And the amendment is going to facilitate the development of the amendment will facilitate the redevelopment of the site for so there's already a concept mixed-use development proposed for the site, with a building of a 9-story podium and tower elements of between 25 and 26 stories. The bottom line here is that this development will provide over 350 dwellings, up to 382 dwellings. And the developer is Columbia Lane Developments Proprietary Limited. I believe that is identified as a property specific developer. So the actual developer involved is a JQZ. So what you can ascertain here in terms of how this is going to affect this local market here in the Homebush North Strathfield area is that we're going to shortly be seeing an increase of supply of around about 400 apartments being added to this residential real estate market here. So now we're going to move on to Victoria. And look at some significant changes that have been going on there. And if I zoom in a little bit more to Greensboro area, we've got what we like to call a precinct-based rezoning. So it's not a whole LGA-wide rezoning. It involves a specific precinct which has a strategic plan, and the rezoning with this rezoning they're seeking to implement that particular strategic plan. And that particular strategic plan is the Greensboro Activity Centre Urban. And they're basically seeking to implement revised heights and setbacks and landscaping controls, including some rezonings involved with this particular change, as you can see with the zoning change field that's available in the pop-up. The new controls will allow for these new controls are going to allow for a moderate to high level of change to ensure that the centre can continue to grow, service its residents, and provide opportunities for economic development and respond to the increased housing demand that's being applied to this particular market that's been identified by the council. And once again, the proponent here is the council, so therefore the change has created a lot of opportunities for investors. And the bottom line is the increase in heights will ensure a greater development potential for a number of sites in the precinct. And obviously new supply will be created in this market. So new housing supply, and also potentially with some mixed-use activity centre zones, you're going to be seeing some also greater increase in supply for commercial land uses. We're going to stay in Victoria now, and we're going to another precinct-based rezoning. Darebin, Victoria. So once again, I'm going to select the zoning alerts layer. And this one is a road-based corridor change. As you can see, it strings right through Plenty Road from through Preston and close to Thornbury and through Kingsbury. And very close to the La Trobe University Melbourne campus, this rezoning is taking place. And once again, this is a precinct-based rezoning that's based on a strategy or framework that's being implemented for this road corridor to apply some increased density in the area. And the amendment implements part of the land use and built form directions from the urban design framework for the St George's Road and Plenty Road corridors strategy. The amendment identifies opportunities for intensification of the development along the corridor. So as a result, the amendment will allow for high density housing and encourage mixed uses in select locations, basically trying to capitalize on this key transport corridor and applying some transit-oriented development design principles here, urban planning principles here to increase density where you've got already some significant social and hard and transport infrastructure available for increased residents to capitalize on. The proponent, once again, this is a council-led redevelopment, so you don't have a developer involved. So as a result, it's going to create a lot of opportunities for investors along this entire corridor for potential sites to either acquire, option up, and then either sell on or actually develop yourself. The bottom line is there's going to be an increase in density and mixed-use rezoning, and this will ensure development potential for a number of sites in the corridor, and obviously increased residential supply and also increased supply to commercial supply to the area. And once again, this is going to be one of the major significant drivers of supply and change in this area. And have a significant impact over the next 5 to 10 years on prices, land prices in the area. And our final stop in this week's video is in Western Australia, in the town of Gingin in Western Australia. Select the zoning alerts layer, and this is a rather moderate sized but pretty significant for this area subdivision. So this is the Gifford subdivision rezoning, and this is a spot rezoning of a vacant non-urban lot. So it's a non-urban lot, and it rezones a portion of the site to a variety of urban and residential-based zones. The rezoning will facilitate the development of a concept subdivision plan for over 205 dwellings and lots and commercial lots. The proponent, I believe, is the owner of the site, and that's where the actual project or subdivision gets its name from, the owner. And the bottom line here is that the rezoning of this site will create a 205 lot subdivision and some commercial lots. So this is bringing some pretty significant increased housing supply to this Indian housing market, and is going to be a significant impact on the in the immediate future on the residential housing market. That's it for this week on the significant zoning changes that have occurred more recently. We'll be looking to do these videos regularly, so keep an eye out for the videos, and keep having a play around with the site to find the most significant some rezonings that fit what you're looking for. And once again, always keep an eye out. Check the website every day, as we're always updating with development sites and zoning changes. And also keep an eye on your inbox, because that's always the first place we notify you of things that are happening, and opportunities and risks and opportunities created as a result of rezonings. Thanks again for your time.